Good afternoon, friends. Today we will talk about the most relevant events in the world. The world today. No large-scale counterattack from Ukraine, losses terrible, senior Russian MP. Ukraine loses no less than 17 U.S. armored vehicles Bradley, NYT. Frontline situation in DPR turned in Russia's favor after Ukrainian offensive, official. Russia's battle group East repels 2 Ukrainian attacks in Zaporizhzhia area. And so let's start. The counterattack by the Ukrainian forces is not going as planned due to heavy losses, Andrei Kartopolov, the head of the State Duma Defense Committee, said on Monday. There has not been and is no large-scale counterattack. Attempts are seen to attack in different directions. The losses that Ukraine is suffering today are beyond the bounds of critical, not critical, but beyond critical, Kartopolov told the Rossiya 1 TV channel. He also stressed that there was no turmoil in the defense of the Russian forces against the background of the attempted armed mutiny, as combat control has continued uninterrupted. The Ukrainian army has lost at least 17 Bradley armored vehicles handed over to Kyiv by the United States, the New York Times reported on Monday, citing a U.S. official. The Daily notes that the United States has provided 113 armored vehicles to Kyiv, of which at least 17, or more than 15%, have been damaged or destroyed. Earlier, CNN reported that 16 of the 109 U.S. armored vehicles were destroyed, damaged, or abandoned recently. Analysts say that given the scale of the war and the length of the front line, such losses were well expected. According to the Dutch portal Oryx, the Ukrainian military has lost at least 3,600 pieces of military equipment since February 2022. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, the Ukrainian army has been making unsuccessful offensive attempts since June 4. On June 22, the Secretary of Russia's Security Council, Nikolai Patrushev, said that Ukraine's losses in manpower since the start of the counteroffensive campaign had exceeded 13,000. Russian President Vladimir Putin stressed that the Ukrainian army had no success in any direction. According to Bloomberg, the West admits that Ukraine has sustained significant losses. At the same time, the Politico newspaper quoted Washington administration officials as saying that further assistance to Kyiv would depend on the success of the counterattack. The situation at the Donetsk contact line swung in favor of Russia after Ukrainian forces started making their offensive attempts, as indicated by enemy casualties. Acting DPR head Denis Pushlin's advisor Yen Gagin told reporters. Since the beginning of the counteroffensive, the situation shifted in our favor, if only because since the 4th, they have lost 13,000 personnel. These are their own numbers, not counting those missing in action, medical casualties, the wounded and seriously injured who will never return to action. You must understand that 13,000 in 1 or 2 weeks is a horrific figure, he said, answering a question from TASS. For comparison, Gagin noted the USSR's casualties during the war in Afghanistan. During the entire war in Afghanistan, the Soviet Union lost 15,000 troops. And these were years and years of war in Afghanistan. Here, it is just 3 weeks, he added. Pushlin's advisor pointed out that the enemy is taking serious losses both deep behind the contact line and in the frontline area. Some vehicles, including NATO ones, simply do not reach the contact line, disappearing somewhere in the rear, just like ammunition depots, supply stores, and reserves. We strike the enemy's home front in particular, it is rather efficient, it is a professional operation by our intelligence, in combination with the aerospace forces and artillery, he specified. Russia's Battle Group East repelled 2 attempted Ukrainian attacks in the Zaporizhzhia area, spokesman for the battle group, Oleg Chekhov, said on Monday. In the Zaporizhzhia area, motorized rifle units of the Battle Group East rebuffed 2 enemy attacks near the settlement of Pryatnoy. Russian forces destroyed nationalists' tanks, armored combat vehicles and manpower, he said. According to the spokesman, the enemy demonstrated no combat activity in the southern Donetsk area, but conducted reconnaissance and tried to regroup. Russian artillery hit areas where enemy manpower was concentrated south of the settlement of Vodyanoy. Strikes were also delivered on clusters of militants near Makarovka and Novodonetskoy from Russian warplanes and helicopters, he said.